T-minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to All in the Tree Tuesdays, episode 446 with John Irby, Mid-Atlantic Arboreals. I'm your boy, MJ. Hope everyone's having a good start to thy week. This is your first time hanging out with us. If you're into keeping reptiles, breeding, or just simply admiring, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here on this channel. I drop 3 episodes a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, so I do not miss. All right, so by subscribing and hitting that notification bell, you'll be on top of everything, man. You can also listen to this podcast on all the major audio platforms, such as Buzzsprout, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major ones. So listen, wherever you listen to this podcast, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I appreciate all the love and support. If you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to support this channel more than just watching an episode, if you want to get more behind the scenes and to be on top of all the exclusive content and sick-ass invites to like Trap Fest, then look no further than joining the Trap Talk Patreon family. The very first link in the description below. Click on it. Join the family. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord that will tap you in with over 200 trappers in the Discord. All right? Super cracking. Appreciate all the love and support in the family. You guys are awesome. And yeah, man, cannot wait to continue to grow with all the entire Trap Talk Patreon family. Again, you guys are my heart, man. Don't forget to support US ARC. Super important. If you're in the reptile game, you must know what US ARC is and help us get these numbers up. All right. You never know when this legislation is going to hit your backyard. Just be ready for it. And again, shout to Phil Goss, shout to the entire US ARC team. This is a gold membership channel that you are watching right here. So respect to that. You know what I'm saying? Either way, thank you, Phil Goss. Appreciate all the support. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the man himself, GS Reptiles. Gary Shavino. What a guy. Head over to YouTube, type in GS Reptiles, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and just be ready to be entertained and learn on some of the best species that you could keep in the reptile game. This man's been doing it for a long time. So thank you, Gary. Appreciate your love and support. Appreciate your friendship. You are a huge asset to this reptile world, and awesome to call you my friend. I also want to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by Focus Cube Habitat, #1 PVC built enclosures in the game. What you see behind me, all Focus Cube Habitat, Flexing, Texas, all day, every day. I got a new order of Focus Cubes coming in, and no, they're not for Chondros. They're not for Emerald Tree Boas. I'll tell you that much. That's all I'm going to say. All right, best way to know what those are for, actually, go subscribe to my other YouTube channel, the Trap Reptile Vlogs. That's where I really document what's happening here with my own reptile collection. I mean, this podcast really is all about the guests, but if you really want to know what I have going on, the best way to stay on top of that is the Trap Reptile Vlogs. All right, so thank you, Stephen Ashley. I appreciate your support and cannot wait to just have everything in here. Focus Cube Habitat. I will say like it's 70% Focus Cube in this room. So everything 100% Focus Cube someday. You know what I'm saying? Last but not least, shout out to Mr. Texas, I should say, Mark Hager, Texas Chondros. All right, one of the biggest guys pushing Texas Chondro breeders since I've been in the game. I'll tell you that much. Really positive, but honestly has some of the best projects to get your hands on. The Calico line. If you want to see what I'm talking about the website's right there where it says TexasChondros.com. Head over to TexasChondros.com. Make sure you follow my man Mark Hager, TX Chondros, on Instagram. Let him know that MJ sent you and enjoy his content because he's one of the best doing it. All right. Speaking about some of the best doing it, here they are. Oh, fuck, dude. Bill, what are we going to do with this guy?
Oh, what's up?
What's up?
Great.
How's your dial up, buddy? What's going on today? What's wrong with your internet? It's coming in a little bit.
I hear you guys fine.
Yeah, but there's a lag. You're hearing us like 5 seconds later.
And you're frozen.
I'm frozen? I don't know. You guys look good to me.
Yeah, we're feeling good.
All right. Listen, are you connected to your Wi-Fi, Marshall?
Yeah.
All right. Let's write it out, but I don't know. It seems like it's coming in a little bit better.
It is Alabama.
If it's it is. I can't argue with that. If it gets bad, maybe I can try to move somewhere else. I don't know. This is the same spot.
Or maybe try coming in without the Wi-Fi on.
Without the Wi-Fi?
Yeah, just try it. You never know.
Hang on.
It might. No, yeah, no. But we'll do it when I do the intro. You're good. Now he's gonna do everything at once. God bless him, bro. I just like first he comes 2 minutes before the show starts, like he's fucking like he's fish on day 3 of the festival. You know what I mean? And then he's just like, oh, you guys, everything's perfect on my end, and he's fucking Mr. Pause and Mr. All right, wait, here he is. Look, there he is.
How's that? How's that?
Oh, wow. Wow, dude. What's
I
up,
heard
buddy?
you talking shit. I heard it perfectly.
Sorry. Marshall Mendez, ladies and gentlemen, what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's up? Good.
Good to see you back home.
Psyched for the show tonight.
Super psyched. Yeah.
Gonna be a big one. Gonna be a big one tonight. We got lots of stuff to talk about.
Super informative as far as the designer world of things with the Chondros, and no introduction as far as needed with tonight. It's John Irby, so I'm super stoked to kind of pick things up as far as where we left off when we had the entire group and whatnot. But I got so many people in the live chats. I want to say shout to everyone in the live chats tonight. If you think that tonight's episode's worth of any super chats or anything like that, drop a super chat for a question or a topic. But everybody, I'm your little bro, right, Bill? And not that I like to tag along, but I feel like you and I always do things, always together when it comes to like, podcasts and stuff like that. We're like a group thing, right? But I'm not gonna say I'm the little brother tonight. That's for sure. All right, because there's a littler one tonight.
Oh no!
All
I
right,
think that was a shot. I think that's a shot.
and
You're the little brother now.
I'm the redheaded stepchild.
That's what I was gonna say. But he's our friend though. But what's going on, Alex?
Not much, man. Not much. Just chilling.
How does it feel to be here tonight with John Irby and then honestly with fucking Bill Stiegel and Marshall Mendez? What a treat,
Dude. It's awesome, man. When I saw that lineup, I was like, man, I got to get on that. That's gonna be a good show.
I saw Alex yesterday, so it couldn't be that awesome for him to.
I see Bill a lot. It's pretty routine at this point.
All right, as I like to kind of inform anyone who's just tapping in, like, oh, what's going on with tonight's guest? Let me pick someone. All right, let me ask you, Alex, what do you know about John Irby and what he's known for in the green tree python world?
One of the best designer breeders in the country. High blue, high black, high yellow, you name it. He's got it.
And Bill, to follow that, what do you know about John Irby?
John is longevity and stability in our hobby. He's been here a long time, and he's just stable as a rock. I would say probably, considering the four of us, he's a little not as big as on the social media. I would say that he doesn't throw himself out there nearly as much as he could. So I guess flies under the radar a little bit until he throws out a clutch like he hatched, last week. And then all of a sudden, boom, mic drop.
Yep. And Marshall, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, no, I consider him an OG, man. He's been around since the early days of Chondro internet. Obviously his collection is incredible. He's a really smart guy and excellent taste in music.
He's a fellow fish fanatic like you, or what?
I don't know. I'm gonna find out a little bit tonight.
Well, this is like a one of a kind right here. You don't see. Listen, Marshall. I love music. Like my dad brought me up to just love almost all types of music. But you're the first friend that ever introduced fish to me. I don't know, and I think I met you when I was already 30, and I remember glimpses of like fish songs as a kid, but like it never really stuck to me. But now because of you, like it's a band that I will bump every now and again. I'm not gonna lie, bro.
Nice.
You got me into it. You know what I mean? But
nice.
It's a unique taste though. That's why I like
it. Is yeah.
So if John's into it, this is gonna be a special treat tonight.
Don't hold your breath.
All right, listen. Again, shout out to everyone in the live chats. Keep it cracking. But I don't know about you guys. Why don't we get John in the mix and get this show cracking? You guys ready or what?
Let's do it.
All right,
You ready?
Alex, do not embarrass us. All right, don't fucking embarrass us, buddy.
I'll try.
Usually, he does do that, so
All right, just kidding. Listen, do what you gotta do to get your mind right. Do what you gotta do to stay hydrated. Episode 446. John Irby, Mid-Atlantic Arboreals coming at you right now. Let's go.
Good.
You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man,
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes,
exclusive. Oh,
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the crowd, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up, rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
and we're live, episode 446. John Irby back in the house. What's up, John?
There he is.
How y'all doing?
Doing great, buddy. Good to have you back again.
Does everything sound good? No feedback or anything?
No, you're nothing like Marshall was 5 minutes ago. You're good.
Good.
Can we get this out of the way, though? Are you a fellow fish head, or what's going on?
Yeah, man. Yeah, they're my
Okay.
favorite band
That's your favorite band.
for sure.
holy shit!
Told you. Man's got taste.
Ah,
Yeah, I like a lot of music. I'm sure Marshall is the same way, but fish is more than that. It's like
It's an
something
era.
you-
It's such an era, dude.
it's something you do, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And there's like there's memories and connections and trips with people, and you don't like fish. You don't just go when they come to like your local amphitheater. You and your buds may go to like a destination or go see them somewhere cool, and you make a big deal out of it. And it's just it's like a culture and a life. It's cool. Yes, I'm all into fish.
So have you guys gone to a concert together yet, or no?
We have it, but we got to change that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I have. I may have crossed paths with Marshall in the, years and years ago on some concert, but no, but
Yeah.
But what I was getting at was I'll go see a lot of music, but I'll fly for fish. I'll bring airfare into the equation.
that's big.
Yeah,
Yeah. All right. Well, let's stop making this so weird now.
they're my jam. And I was wondering another thing I was smiling about while I was listening to the opening was Christian Stewart. I went up there and was helping him build out his mini barn, his new snake building. And while I was up there, we were like sheetrocking and doing all kinds of stuff, and I was jamming Fish hard. And then at times after that, since then, I've been hearing him listen to it. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, some things are just like, if you just listen to them enough, it catches you, and you're like, oh man, it's good,
It's just okay. I'm gonna end it with this on Fish. It was so what the fuck when I first started hearing it that it eventually I became a fan of it because it's just these long runs of just like instrumental like type songs, and then you'll just hear like weird lyrics out of nowhere, and you're like, what does that even mean? Like, and me, like I love instruments and I love the sound. Like it to me, what makes a song is the beat, right? Like I love the beat first, but then I really pays close attention to the lyrics. there's nothing to pay attention to lyrics when it comes to fish. Like
Yeah,
it's
you're
just,
like, I know what you mean. You're like, what is this? I love
so
it.
random,
So
and you're
weird.
like, I even wrote
It's
some of the shit.
amazing.
I even wrote some of the shit down, and I'm like, what do they mean by that?
Yeah.
Anyways, I guess people can say the same things about your fucking projects, right? Like, holy shit, you're groundbreaking the internet right now with the stuff. And let me ask you too, John.
MJ's like, my audience is not here to talk about fish. Let's get this shit back on the fucking track.
Yeah, because I guarantee some people have already Googled a couple songs and they're like, yeah,
they're like fucking
bouncing.
These guys are weird. No, but serious note, okay? Because I try to just take note of anyone killing it in the Green Tree Python game. And one thing that I'm not saying you're the only one who does this, but the way you presented that clutch that you recently had success. We had 2 of them, right? 2 recent clutches.
Just the one recently. I've got another one cooking right now.
Okay, but the way you kind of showed did you lead people with like that pairing was going on, or did you save posting all the pics until you knew you had success with the eggs?
I don't post them until I've got neonates hatching.
See,
and the reason being is I've learned through time that 1, there's a little bit of like juju there. I'm just trying to not jinx things, but 2, you just get a lot of people that reach out to you and they want to, and you can find yourself like getting into long, elaborate conversations with people and people really wanting them and things like that. And then the whole thing not go well. And you're like, whoa, you know what I mean? And you kind of almost can't get that time back. You're like, man, we literally just talked about nothing. And I got kids and a busy life. So I keep that tamped down by just, one of my mentors says that if there's no babies, there's not much to talk about really, yet.
So true. I think Bill had to calm me down because I'm like, wow, Bill, you're like 4 out of 8 on ovulations. You're like, MJ, they're not babies, bro. Like, just like,
we talk about it. Pairings don't equal ovulations, and ovulations don't equal eggs, and eggs don't equal neos. So
and I talk to people all about my pairings. I didn't want to sound like an asshole. I just don't want to get into like pricing and converse. I don't even know what they look like yet, and people are just get excited. So I don't want to entice or whatever, create unnecessary excitement.
I have to admit, I was probably one of the hundreds that reached out to John and said, John, hey, what's up with your clutch, brother? Hey, what's going on? And I got the it was like, I'm out of the office reply. I will not be releasing babies until they're at least 12 months old. Thank you for inquiring, John.
That was hand type. That was not even copy and paste.
It was an automatic reply.
So
well, I gotta keep them. You know what I mean? There's just, you know what I mean? I'm in this for the fun. You know what I mean? Like, I could get some green ones, but I just gotta know. I just it's that type of clutch.
Yeah.
Remind me, John, I think you said this before on a show, but how do you let people know that you have availability? Do you have an email blast too, or you just
I want to figure that out. I want to, if someone's like, I want to figure out an inexpensive, I don't have a website, right? I don't really want to maintain one. I guess think about it as a business, I could do it as fun, but I'd be just adding this unnecessary, like I don't have any problem selling my neonates. So I don't need to tend a website and add to my already busy life. So Facebook and Instagram already do it well enough, but I want to figure out how I can have like an email list though, but without having some formal website. So if somebody is smarter than I am can tell me how to do that inexpensively, I'd love to.
I know Dave does that. Dave D. That's what
he's got a website.
Oh, got you. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. What do you do, Bill? Do you have an email blast, Bill, or no?
No, I don't. I'm kind of like John. I have a website, but almost zero traffic goes through there.
Right.
It's basically, kind of just word of mouth and timing and a few other things, but I don't have a good explanation about how I do it. Every scenario is a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, because we're talking about how many snakes, like, so often are you selling in a year, John? Not a lot, right?
Not a lot. I mean, I just moved my collection, so I didn't have a lot going on last year. And then we can talk about that tonight. It seems like my girls are just, thankfully, and I'm grateful for the clutches that I'm getting, but they I just moved them, previously in the summer. So they just haven't been settled in for very long. So I'm hoping that next year, and I actually have a really big crop of females that are kind of the next in line from my 2020 clutches and some of those really good years I had. So I've got a fleet of incredible females about to step up to the plate, but they're kind of in that 4 range, and I really just want to get them up to 5. So next fall, I'll be able to really, really increase my success rate because I'll just be playing the numbers game. When you pair 10 things, you just have a lot better odds than when you're pairing 2 or 3 things.
Did you hold back on your pairings because you moved and only did a couple pairings this year, or did you try to pair as many girls as you can?
I had 4 girls that were ready, and I paired all of them, and I got 2.
Okay.
Nice.
So, you got to need 10 if you want 5 type thing. And then some years they just all go and you get more than you thought you were going to get. And some years none of them go and you get 1 clutch and it's half slugs. But you know what I mean? If you're trying to average some good numbers, you need to pair up a few pairs. And I just had 4 pairs this year.
Right. Okay. Bill, were you going to say something? I feel like I'm cutting you off.
No, not at all. Just that it's definitely a numbers game. And sometimes you can get lucky and sometimes you can get unlucky, but the bottom line is that it's a numbers game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a numbers game. And also, man, isn't it a game of luck when it comes to moving your collection? Like, that's kind of like a sketchy, scary thing to do. Just because, for instance, I know Marshall, how long did you have that collection settled before you moved in 2000? Was it 20 that you moved? Or
yeah, end of 20. 17 years in the same room before that.
Right. Were you
and
nervous?
Oh, fuck yeah. And then, I mean, it took, the first year, 21, I had a clutch that was conceived at the old house, and I had to move the eggs. I moved the eggs from the old house to the new house, and they hatched here. Those were the first ones. And then in 22, I got 1 small clutch of, I think I got maybe 6 eggs, 7 eggs, something like that. And then last year skunked nothing. And this year so far is, knock on wood's going fairly well. So it definitely takes a couple years for them to settle in, get settled in and get used to the new environment, new setup.
Yep.
Yeah, Marshall's banged out a couple of real nice clutches so far.
Yeah.
Eggs, Bill. They're only eggs so far.
Marshall, they're clutches. I didn't say Neos. They are clutches.
Yeah, eggs and egg, man. What the fuck? Bill's not wrong on that. But okay, I have to ask you, John, when it comes to you doing pairings each year, you take your approach as far as looking at the time of year and that's when you pair, or do you like to look at your females for signs and then you like to pair? Well, what's your approach each year?
A little of both. I kind of use the males and I kind of probe my way there. You know what I mean? So I'll just, before even cycling anything, I know which males I'm going to at least attempt to use, and I'll just start to pair some stuff up and just see kind of how they're doing, what they're doing, and then and then the males that chase after the certain girls, I then, instead of moving the male around a little bit, I just start to give him more time with her, and I just kind of let him almost kind of do that, and they'll start putting pressure on a girl. And basically, if they're breeding something, I'm not stopping them. And if they're not breeding something, I'm not wasting time on it. And then I begin to cycle. And then as the season goes on, I start to try those other girls that didn't seem to be. And so you get some early takers and whatever, kind of work your way through your group.
Yeah, because, okay, so again, 4 girls is what you attempted just this recent last year. You got 2 out of 4. And for you, Bill, you had 7 last year. Remind me one more time. You had 7 or 7? Or
I had 6. I had 6, but one of those was done at Buddy's. So I had 5 clutches here and 1 up there.
And can you tell me how those were spread out through the year? Like how were those all majority laid throughout a certain time, or did they come throughout like from the beginning of year to summer or something like that?
Alex will tell you my window is very tight. I have a real tight breeding window here. And so I think all my 6 clutches came within 2 months.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just, a temperature cycle pretty heavily and food cycle. And I want everybody on the same cycle. And I'm kind of like John. I'll let I'll let some maybe up and comer males see what they're going to do. But if they're not going to make a move, then I'll, after a certain amount of time, I'll get them out and try to get a more established male in.
So what if you saw like a first time male and almost a first time female type situation? You see stuff going between them, but just nothing's happening. Would you personally call it a break at a certain time of the year, or if you see that they're into each other, you just leave them be?
Listen, for me, usually if they're going to get to it, they're going to get to it pretty quick. And if they show that first initial lock or two, then they're pretty much locked in for the season. With some exceptions, but for the most part.
Yeah, and I was going to say I tried 4 pairs, but I'm not that girl. Like I paired 2 and they went early, but that's not to say that that other girl or one of those others wouldn't breed a little. I mean, we're still able to cool and stuff. So she just might not have been cycling, but it was very apparent to not keep pairing her right then. That wasn't doing any good. So it was like, call it off. But that doesn't mean that I won't stick that male back in there again. She may just cycle a little later. She could cycle in February.
Yeah, but you're not talking about like extending it 6 months, right? I mean,
no, I just would. Just like September, October, sometime like that. Just kind of just cycle through the winter and lift it in the spring. Yeah.
Because what I know, there's a couple of chances you have each year to try to get this to go down, right? I mean, they cycle. I mean, I think I heard even up to 3 times that they could cycle within a year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, and then I had another. I'm just remembering all this. One of the females, luckily my frosty female, I had her paired. I was trying her with that black calico male Warzone, and he wasn't showing any interest. But at the same time, I was not going to swap out another male. And I was just trying to stay true to my guns and going to pull that pairing off. And so I pulled him. Anyway, she swelled. This is my first time ever having this. She swelled with follicles, turned bright blue, even bluer than she is already. And I was like, oh shit, man, I think this girl's going to rev up, tip over the edge, ovulate, and have never been bred. But she didn't. She was all food and the whole deal. And she just swelled way up, peaked, and then just started to come back down. And then I knew it was over when she started hunting again.
Yeah.
What do you think? So that's like classic reabsorption, right?
She just reabsorbed. And most of the time when I've had females show follicles, I typically can get a male to breed them. Yeah. And if they breed them, that's what tips them over the edge. But a male that maybe stimulates her, but doesn't actually copulate, I was just concerned that maybe it pushed her over the edge and she just slug out or something.
What I noticed this year was that the males were cruising when the females were ready. And as soon as I paired these 2 pairs up, they were locked within an hour. Yeah. Now I had, 4 or 5 other females that I was hoping were going to go. I mean, I'm kind of glad that they didn't now that these 2 did. But I put the males in with those. I was rotating the male around like I normally do. And he'd go from, hooking up with one immediately to just other side of the cage with the other one. And right now, none of my 3 or 4, good adult males are cruising. And I tried to pair another pair up last night just to see what would happen, and nothing. So I think you can look at the males, and if there's something going on, if they can smell it, your males will be cruising around.
Now, Marshall, if you do see some of this behavior later on in the year, you're going to pair up, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And like what Bill was saying, Bill, you're able to get your shit down seasonally, where you want yours to go down and within that window. That was something that you've developed over time.
Yeah, and that's, just a different approach. I mean, if I see my males cruising, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to put them in with a female, because I want my females, what I think, have the best chance to develop follicles and, to go on and produce successful clutches. And at least just for me, in my experience, that means, doing, temperature cycling and food cycling and light cycling and not just put her in unless, like John said, I see a female like she's developing follicles for some reason, and I would put a male in even if it was kind of off season, but that's never happened to me. I usually see the females developing follicles once a male's been introduced, and then she'll go off feed, and then locks and an ovulation, and that's just kind of typical for me. But man, we've had enough people on this show, and we've talked to enough people that listen. I mean, there's so many different ways, so many different approaches, and these things have been bred and produced every month of the year, like so many different methods. So, pick the one going to work consistently for you.
And most of my stuff, it all definitely they do seem to get on a cycle, and they happen within a window or a wave. I guess what I was just saying was, in my opinion, January 30th is still right smack dab in the middle of the breeding season.
Damn
I
right.
would call this out of if it's cold outside, I mean, I'm like, you can cool. And all I was really speaking to is, from about October until whenever you want to pull the plug, you know what I mean? That there's not, you don't stop, and at least I don't. I mean, my room has still got its lights on, cycling on winter time.
Yeah, mine too.
Lighting and stuff like that. So
mine too. But I'm like Marshall. I've noticed my male activity has gone way down in the last 2-3 weeks. I mean, when I started, man, every male I had was just going crazy. He was locking up with everything I'd put him to, and now slowly the trickle is turning off. I think I have. What, Alex, one male, maybe two males that are still seem interested. The rest they just seem done. And I don't know if maybe that's them. Maybe that's because the females are done,
Yeah. And that female I plan to try, I have no hope that it'll take, but I'll just stick another male in there a few more times. It's like,
John, what luck have you had with young males? Like, I'm talking like the age of 2 and shit.
None, but Frostbite, the male that just produced my calico clutch, was the youngest male that I've ever bred, and he bred for me at 39 months old.
What? So hold on, let me do the math.
So he just turned 3 months over 3 years and 3 months.
Wow,
and that's the youngest male that I've ever had. But again, that I'll be honest, man. Like, I just wanted to kind of like see them together and put them. And I was like, man, I kind of knew I was going to pair them, and so. I just kind of got weak, and I put him in there, and he went right over to her, and I was like, "Oh shit! All right, well,
what is like Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just found him cuddling on her the next day, and so then I left him, and then I found him locked, and he locked her 3 times.
What is like an average age that you're pretty comfortable? Like you're pretty sure that they're gonna breed, like 4.5, 5 years old, or older, or.
It's kind of like I was saying, like there's a lot of things I try, and then there's a lot of things that I see consistency in. It's kind of like that female. I'm going to try her, but I doubt she'll take. It's kind of like young males. I give them a try, but they normally have made this one is the first one that's ever made me a liar. I've had a really firm position of that. I don't see a lot of, you know what I mean? I don't even know why I try them type thing. But anyway, I always try them because I see other people, getting success with them. And I'm like, well, someday, numbers game again, someday I'll just pair them up and I'll get some young ass male to go. And anyway, but for the most part, it's about 4.5. And that is when a male can start, is pretty good. And they get even better. My best males have all been 6, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. And that's not anywhere near being old. A 4-year-old male is a young male. A 10-year-old male is a crusher. I mean, if he's turned on and good, man, it's kind of like I tell people, like you see a breeder and they just keep putting out like blue deuce clutches or something. And you're like, why didn't they pair that other male? And, like you daydream about other people's collections and wish they would pair things in certain, you're like, I don't know why they don't do that blue one with come to find out, some males are just badasses and they just, he can get it done. And so anyway, a good 10-year-old male that can crush, man, you're gonna be producing clutches a lot with that male. I
think everything's built off dreaming off other people's collections. Oh my God. Okay, I have to ask.
A good strong male is middle age is just worth his weight in gold, man.
So John, Frostbite. Go ahead, Marshall.
I was just gonna say, I'll say this: the first, my first clutch, the sire was 18 months old.
Wow.
So I mean, they can breed young.
Damn.
They don't always. I mean, they usually don't. But that was the male I had ready, and my female was 3 years old, and put them together, and that was my first clutch.
I've gotten zero luck with any species pairing anything young, and it fucking pisses me off. Like and I know you're not rubbing it in or anything, Marshall, but fuck, man, like
Well, that's only happened once too. I mean, that was my first clutch.
Even Sock. So I got a holdback male from Sock a little bit over 2 years, and he had 3 males, and I was able to get one of them off him. And he's like, just so you know, I have the other 2 paired up now, and they're locking all these females. And I'm like, what? And I was like, well, like you, John, I was like, well, I just want to see this one together with another designer that I had. And he went to the most opposite end of the cage and was fearing for his life. And I just felt so bad where I was like, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing in here anyways? But I guess it's just kind of like you get that one male who's a little bit more mature than the other ones, and it's just ready to rock and roll. But Bill, you haven't had a lot of luck with young males, right? Or you have?
The old yes and no. Sickness bred when he was 3.5, and 2 of his offspring bred when they were 3.5. But I've never tried one at 18 months old. I'd feel like a pedophile if I did that.
I was going to ask.
You hear more of those stories back from a previous era in Chondro when they were fed.
Well, they're also, to 1,300 grand.
I'm not accusing Marshall of that, but I would imagine.
No, guilty. 3 years old, pounding medium rats.
Fuck, bro. Where does
Frost and laid a 22 egg clutch.
3 years old.
3 years old, yeah.
Fucking freak of nature, man. Where does Frostbite land when it comes to like your, like if as far as your starting quarterback all the way down? Like, is he pretty much up there or what?
Well, he's really, really nice, but I didn't know he was going to breed. So it was the first time. Basically, I have a really not that nice male Warzone at my house, but he did not breed, and he's 4.5, and so, which is not abnormal. But I was like, man, I'm just not getting any of these young. I wanted to use this new crop, and so and just roll out something different than I've done before. And anyway, so then I just got frustrated and put that male in, and he went Frostbite. This is not Frostbite.
Yeah, it's Warzone right here.
This is Warzone. Yeah. But I put Frostbite in, and I was like, well, there you go. All my older 4 and 5 year olds aren't breeding for me, and this little 3.5-year-old got it done. So thank you, little Frostbite.
Yeah, thank you, little horny bastard.
Yeah.
So Warzone's how old?
I think he's 5 now.
Okay.
Very close to 5, if not.
How many people in here have had a male do a killer job one year and then next year he was fucking just like not performing?
It's pretty rare.
Usually a good breeder's a good breeder, right? Like if he's fucking in the game, he's always in the game from what I've heard, right?
Yeah, I mean, once they turn that corner, Freight Train, a male that I got from John, who's just he was very frustrated when I first got him because he didn't breed at 3.5.
Right.
He didn't breed at 4.5. But when he was 5.5, and I just couldn't keep him off the females, he was just like, I got some catching up to do.
Yeah.
And
once they turn on, if they're good, they're good. Yeah. Most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I have this Monocory male who's about pushing 5, and the first time I paired him up, he went at it, and he didn't sire anything, but man, he went to town. And then ever since we moved here and I paired him up, he just doesn't want nothing to do with nothing. Like even a girl where I took him out and I put the next male in, and he locked that girl. And so I'm just wondering if like he fucking switched teams or what's going on with him. I don't know what's happening. I don't know if things got weird at a fish concert or what. But anyways, yeah. So Alex, what do you have to say on that?
On the fish concert?
Alex, get us some geckos, man.
Yeah. MJ's doing it for us.
Random things that happened to you at a fish concert, Alex.
400.
I don't know. I'm kind of embarrassed to say I couldn't name one fish song. I have no idea what fish is.
All right, don't go too far down this path. MJ's gonna get
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was spelled with an F. I'm right there with you, Alex.
Yeah, I know it's spelled with a PH. That's about it.
Yeah, you knew more than me, man.
Yeah. I guess I did have a question for John. How successful are you with pinkies? Like, have you ever thought about venturing into baby lizards to establish the babies, or what's your best method?
I feed pinks now, but I have, it's just funny. I have fed some lizards, and there was a couple of neonates. They were known as the lizard eaters. And, amongst all because, we were all like laughing about these neos. And I met a guy, he lived in Florida. He caught these anoles for me. And so anyway, and then I froze them, and they ate some live. And I was like, well, this was one of my very, very first clutches. And they were so difficult. And my mentality there was just to save them, save the neos. And it was a really interesting learning experience for me, because these were some non-strikers. I mean, they wouldn't run, they were just stonewall you, man. Just couldn't even get them excited. They'd show zero interest, beating them to as hard as you could go, man, whatever it took. And eventually I was like, it's not technique. I know that I could be better, but I mean, at some point, these things are just not doing anything. And so anyway, I got these lizards, and I was like, are these defective, or is what I got not what they want? Showed them a live lizard. They flew off the perch and snatched. And I'm like, okay, so their ability to eat and their ability to wrap, they're not defective.
Yep.
But I never got them to come back over to pinks. They were, I think maybe one of them I did convert over to a rodent eater. But
were they gaining size though? Like as you're feeding them lizards, were they going to their heads?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think the chances would have of them getting into adulthood and then switching over to a rodent?
Yeah, they just in one of them kind of like, I don't know if you've ever had a neo that like was tough and he got better, but then he kind of reverted, and you're like, he's just troubled, right? And he really ought to he just doesn't have he never progresses past the needing to be tapped thing, and he's just I don't know.
Okay,
I don't waste my time with stuff like that anymore.
But see, here, this is where I want to now talk about what we're talking about here, right? Because we are doing a lot of these animals a disservice in a sense, because they're not asking to be kept this way. They're born here. They're like, we're in a box, right? And we're doing our best to figure out what it is that they need to fucking get thriving, get going, right? And what is crazy to me, because I've experienced all these stages of neos, right? The neos that just come out and they're freak of natures and they fucking eat whatever you give them, right? But then that's not a lot of the things that are happening. What's happening is you're getting either a shy ass neo that you have to almost literally beat to get to fucking want to bite, or you get something that just wants to run for the hills. Either way, you have something that people are spending maybe 45 minutes to an hour to try to figure out to get to bless you, Bill. Figure out to get to eat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right? Which is hair pulling. And I'm going to tell you right now, shout out to Mark Hager. Mark Hager, I got a designer neo from him, a Calco line. I'm in love with it. And he's like, MJ, I got this yellow one. It's a tough one. I haven't got it, get it to take on its own. He's done tricks here and there, but it's never taken anything on its own. And I'm like, dude, sure. I'm always looking for opportunities to see if I get something like this to go. So he sends me the snake. I give it a couple days, kind of look at its demeanor, and it's definitely a shy one. Wants nothing to do with nothing. I go give it my steps as I follow. I'm not going to go down the steps. Everyone knows what you should do, right? But either way, I'm noticing that this thing is a fucking shy motherfucker. Like, it does want nothing to do with nothing, to where let me try to beat it a little bit. And guess what? It did the quick mouth thing, which is a good sign, right? But that's all I got out of it, to where I'm like, fuck, what am I going to do with this guy? This is going to be nerve-wracking. Until good old little Kenny. I don't even want to call him little, but little homie Kenny came on the show, dropped some info about how any neo that he's had that has any signs of it not wanting anything to do with the pink, he has dropped a crested gecko in there, and usually it only takes one to get it to kick over. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. And me, I was like, what do I have to lose? So I branched out, to my Patreon family members out there, and I have a guy named Josh who happens to just be really tapped into the gecko world, and he was able to get me a group of proven breeders, and also happen to have a couple or a baby gecko, because I'm like, hey, do you have anything I could test out, because I have this yellow neonate, and I swear it doesn't want nothing to do with nothing, but I just want to see what happens. And he gave me one and tossed that thing in there, and I kept spying on it and seeing it, and I noticed the gecko was getting close to it. That gecko jumped on the neo, and that neo just fucking took it out and ate it. And that right there is when I became a believer. We are not giving these things its natural food item. Like,
oh yeah, they
sure. And
it was shocking how hard they went for those lizards.
So how hard is it to know that people are just like, fuck, this thing ain't working out, I'm gonna put it in the freezer? That's crazy. Like, we don't need to do that. Like, we could actually figure out what it is that these things need to just get to where we could give it a rodent and not have to pull our hair out and spend fucking countless hours on all these neos trying to get them to eat something that they are not born to eat. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Well, I think the big question is kind of John's experience is, how long, if ever, will it take to get them eating rodents?
Yeah.
Marshall, you've been around the game a long time. You've heard this gecko talk from old school guys, that have done.
I've heard it. I've never tried it myself. But yeah, of course, I've heard it for sure.
If it was the magic ticket, then you would think we'd have been doing this, 20 years ago.
Yeah, and also, why do they like chick down so much if lizards is the way to go?
But not even chick down works either. You got people who always use chick down, and sometimes the chick down doesn't work. So, and I'm telling you, because I was using chick down on this yellow neo.
But I've certainly, in that time where I had this bag of frozen lizards in my freezer, I was not just feeding them, but I was trying to scent with them too. And there's, as far as the scent goes, talk about just experience and what you do and things you abandon along the way. I don't even try any other scents. It's just chick down or working them harder to get them there. I think
it tickles them. What I think it's like, it either like frustrates them where they want to bite it. Because one thing, if you notice with the gecko, they're sticky, bro. Like, they're kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, you feel their little nails. And I'm telling you, when that gecko jumped on that neo probably felt that natural instinct where it could have been a predator maybe, but it went for it and just went to town and ate it. You know what I mean? There was just something more natural with that going down versus beating the shit out of it with a pinky, because I'm telling you right now, that's what you almost have to do with these shy ones or whatever. And I'm not saying literally beat. That's just kind of the term that they use, but you are frustrating the living shit out of it to the point where you're trying to see if it gets pissed off. You know what I mean?
But I'll repeat my question. If this is the golden ticket, then why aren't, all of us doing this? Why haven't we been doing this for 15 years? Why,
I mean, Patrick, shout out to Patrick Holmes. I mean, one of the guys been doing this for a while. He's never had a chondro turn down a gecko. But why, like Bill's saying, why isn't this being discussed? Like, why can't we openly come out? And I'm not targeting you, Patrick. I love you. I'm just saying,
I think in the early days, people put stigma on that was like dirty and parasites and whatever, and that that those chondros, that we're not trying to. That's wild caught. Like that's what wild caught and farm bred stuff come in with those parasites. And,
yeah, okay, but do you run the same risk if you're feeding a baby crested geckos that are hatched in captivity?
I doubt it. I think it would be fine. I don't know. I don't know either.
Okay, let's think about if there was a wide selection of wild rats that people could go out and like pick from the fucking goddamn gutters and feed their snakes versus someone who breeds their own rats and have their own diet. Like, so it is all what you put into what you're feeding your snake, right?
Oh, sure.
I think if you have a group of well established like breeding geckos and and they're like being fed really good top tier food, I think that's what Kenny said he's never had one neo not switch over to a rodent.
Oh, I wouldn't look down upon that snake at all. I wouldn't. You're feeding it a captive bred lizard and putting some level of effort. I mean, it's not that hard to deparasitize them and stuff like that. I mean, they're not. I think you'd be all right.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is, it's like I want to kind of help people out there from fucking losing their shits, because I've been one of them, and it is frustrating to think like oh my God, it's been 2 months and this Neo won't eat. Like I work so hard to get this thing to come to Earth and be here and be alive. And now it's literally on its way out because it won't survive off fucking rat tails. And I don't know what else to do. Or then you have other people who's been doing this for so long. I'm not gonna say any names, but I'm not gonna say, because it's just one of those things. But some people are like, well, doesn't eat. See you later. Well, what are you offering it? Like I think there's just a lot of things to look at before just going straight to the typical like fucking day one pink with a little bit of chick down. I don't know. Everything needs.
There's also the thought of if you have to feed it lizards, is it going to pass that on to babies? And is that really helping? Is that helping things in the long run?
I think because one thing that I've heard is a weak Neo, like a weakling Neo, kind of it grows up to kind of pass down babies that are weak, right? From what I've heard.
It's a theory. I don't know if there's any to it. It's a theory.
Okay. So if a Neo never had the opportunity to be weak, how's that even a problem? So if you for instance, if you have a situation where you just have a Neo that gives you one sign of it not being one of these monsters that are just flying off the perch eating anything, then you go straight to a gecko, and then next thing you know, after 2 geckos, it's to a rodent. I don't see how that's going to affect the further clutches if it's not continuously going days without eating or being assist fed. I think what fucking traumatizes a clutch in the future is a snake that's being established on getting rat tail shoved down its fucking throat, or being constantly assist fed to the point where now you could take on your own, but look at your childhood, God bless you, like look how you were raised. Like that has to mentally fucking probably traumatize the snake probably for the rest of its life, and we don't even know it. You don't know. I'm not trying to get all fucking Dr. Phil on you guys. I'm just saying we don't know what the long effects are by trying to assist feed a snake for a year until we finally get it to you finally took after goddamn how many meals, you know what I mean?
MJ, between that rant and MJ and Marshall breeding 18-month-old male chondros, I'm shaking. I'm a little shaky.
Well, don't relax, okay? I mean, take a deep breath.
Trying.
Do you have anything you like to say, Bill, so to keep you less shaky?
No, other than I agree. I would much rather, feed a Neo 2 or 3 geckos and then transition it to a pink, other than shove mouse tails or anything else down it, for 3 months.
Yeah.
And
to think about how much easier it is, Patrick was saying, well, people go to pinks because if they're available more and they're cheaper. But if you're really doing this and you can, keeping a breeding group of geckos is a lot more less fucking pain in the ass than breeding your own rodents. I'll tell you that much. Okay. And it's just, I don't know. I'm looking at kind of what would be more feasible than the other. I know not everyone wants to breed their own geckos, and that's not the thing, but I'm just saying sometimes there's things you just got to fucking roll your sleeve up and do if you want to do it in this game. I don't know.
I've tried lizard scent and have had minimal luck with that.
Me too.
I think them being alive has. I think them being alive has a lot to do with it. I really do.
Patrick just said pinkies are 60 cents. Morning geckos are $60. Certainly, you could produce geckos for less than $60, right?
Way less. Oh, hell yeah. I mean,
he's talking about he's saying the initial cost is instead of buying 60 and then breeding something, people just see the 60 cents and go for that.
Yeah, but then again, okay, look at the rodent industry, right? There are rodent companies that you could go online and you could buy frozen thawed rodents that are way less cheaper than a pet store.
I bet you there's feeder lizard places out there.
Yeah, there's for sure feeder lizard places out
there. But are they captive bred? I mean, are they what we're talking about? Are they captive bred lizards?
Right. Are they in-house bred? Yeah.
And will they eat frozen thawed geckos or only live?
I think we opened up a secret door, guys. Because everything we're talking about, Patrick's like, oh, I do this. I have colonies. Oh, do you, Patrick? Well, you've been very secretive about it, buddy. You've been very, very secretive. And now that MJ's starting to open up his mouth, now you're like, yeah, I do all this stuff. See, he's a gatekeeper, bro. Patrick, you've been exposed. He's not as great as you think he is now. And I think he learned that when he was locked up. I'm not gonna lie. He's a scary individual, Patrick Holmes. Look at his fucking. Isn't it weird though with the yoga too? Like everything's just starting to come to fucking like. I'm looking at everything now, and Patrick, you're exposed, buddy. I'm shaky, Bill. Now I'm fucking. I don't know what to do. I'm just kidding. Love you, Patrick. All right, all right. Listen, I want to get back to designer talk here, because I really want people to understand the power behind this pairing. The male was Frostbite. What was the female's name? I'm going to pull it back up.
I just want to let your guests know that feeder lizards are available out on the web for about $5 a pop. So
there we go.
Did a little bit of the research for you.
Okay, frozen.
These are live. Plus shipping. You're going to need to have a little bit extra on there for shipping.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name them. These people probably aren't sponsors of the show, so I don't want to.
Yeah, good call. Thank you, John. That's the way to. Thank you. My God. Bill would have just shouted out. He would have just been like, showed the.
I'm not endorsing this.
I would have.
A lot of those feeder lizards are wild caught anoles from Florida.
That's what Patrick just said. They're wild caught. So.
Yeah.
The ones that I had that were live, I treated them like radioactive. I was scared to death of them, didn't want to handle them. And then I was like, how do I feed this lizard, but not get, so I ended up freezing them off because I just wasn't willing to feed them live.
You can boil them too. If you boil them and then freeze them, it helps out a lot.
Oh my God. Okay. Now we're getting too dark.
Let's not alive.
Let's convert.
It's not a lobster.
All right. Back on track.
Run that shit in butter. The Chondros will eat it.
Yeah.
Would it scream like a lobster? Oh my God. All right. Listen, I want people to understand the powerful lineage with what we're looking at here. And I also want to get schooled a little bit more because we're talking about Frostbite and the female is named Hot Stuff, correct?
Yep.
All right. Now, I'm a big fan of something that becomes red and turns yellow. And I'm not sure what it is in Hot Stuff lineage wise that makes her do that. And I don't know if that's something that is like common with anything that she produces. Is a lot of it going to go red to yellow? And what your experience has been working with designers that go from red to high yellow like that?
Well, so this is the first time I've paired her, so I don't know what she'll produce.
Oh, wow.
The Neos do have that look though. They're really nice Neos, and they have that real rich kind of almost reduced pattern and orange burnt diamonds, and not a lot of like patterning and like rosettes on their side. They're just real clean. So they kind of have that look that could go high yellow, or just be colorful snakes. Anyway, we'll see. She's a calico line snake. She's produced by Christian Stewart off of his Velvet Blondie pairing. And Velvet is off of Maxwell's October. And October was from the Calico Junior Daydream clutch. So October is at that time. I mean, I would say he's, a famous male, like a
huge,
a classic, most chondro heads back in the day. That one was a poster child of kind of where, how extreme chondros could get. He had like browns on him and orange, and he was really in Calico Junior too. I mean, anyway, Greg really did tap into something cool there. It's not just any old pixelated multicolored bloodline. And you see a few kind of funky looking animals pop up in other bloodlines, but the Calico line has proven to be, it is special. And it does produce, that upper crust quality. When the X factor hits, it produces animals like you see there in Hot Stuff. And animals like actually, what's crazy? This will blow your mind if you already don't know this. That snake you just showed a little while ago, Warzone, is her clutchmate brother.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're brother and sister?
From the same clutch. Same mom and dad, same clutch, same pairing, same year, all that.
It's insane.
They need a family photo for sure. Yeah. They need a family photo.
And what's really wild is the clutch was like a couple of males, and then the rest were girls, and 4 of them or something look about like her. So the females,
oh my God,
it's almost like gender whatever attached there. The females all went they went the extreme high yellow pheno that the Calico line can do. And then Warzone went the really, really, really high black route. And that's the cool thing about the Calicos is you really can take them in blue and black and yellow and combination directions. And they just really are super special.
So
and I
this
know
girl-
Mark agrees. So.
This girl's 4 years old or 3 years old. I'm sorry.
No, she was young too. She was about 4.5. She
Wow.
was not, or a little over 4.
Okay, and she gave you how many? 6?
I got 7 babies. She laid 8 eggs and a couple of slugs, and I hatched all but one. I had one crash in the first week.
So 7 went the distance.
Yeah.
Damn, bro. Oh my gosh.
Those Neos look familiar, don't they, Alex?
Yes, they do.
Now, what do you mean by that, Bill?
Freight train babies. Look
None of your business.
None of your business.
Who said that? Was that Alex? Who just said that to me right now? Is that you, Alex?
Can you mute him?
Maybe.
Fucking the nerve of that guy. See how easy that was? Don't ever do that again, Alex. I'm just kidding. No, but okay, so
I brought it up. No,
yeah, but it doesn't matter. You're Bill. Bill, I do want to know: is there a connection between you said freight train? I'm sorry.
No, yeah, freight train. There's no freight train's not a Calico line, but when you get a clutch of Neos that look like the picture that you're showing now, then you're very optimistic.
Yeah.
Dark with the orange diamonds. That's
Produced orange diamonds instead of white or yellow.
yeah.
Yeah, this is the look. I mean, this is what makes you smile when they come out of the egg.
I mean, it smiles just watching the picture. Like this is it kind of makes my heart beat just little skips a beat, you know. And I will tell you, Patrick was the one who kind of schooled me on the orange diamonds and like how those are the indicators of like you got something promising. But he also told me that he's had Neos that have more like you see the lighter diamonds on the left one right here. Like it's kind of like a lot lighter, not a lot, but lighter than the other ones.
Yeah.
He told me those actually he's had some of those Neos turn orange throughout like maybe a shed or two. I don't know if you've had any of that.
Yeah, that's actually that same dark snake right next to it. It's actually got the burnt orange down part of it, and I can't remember if it's the neck part or the tail part, but a third, right. One of the ends, it fades out to white or whatever those are, yellow diamonds.
Have you ever had a lighter one become darker though, John? Like,
I don't know. And I guess I was saying that the reason I mentioned that, I was like, maybe I should pay attention to that and see if they like colored out the rest of the way, if it's going on down and finishing them up. I don't know.
I think I'm sorry to interrupt you, MJ, but I think this would be a kind of a good time, and I'm going to ask John to talk about it. I kind of know the answer because John and I have talked about it before. Okay, John, all right, we got this great theory about picking holdback, and then from your knowledge, what has happened to the animals that you've held back versus the animals like that you've released? Like, what kind of a picker are you?
Well, I'm pretty good at it, but I mean, it just depends on the clutch and the bloodlines and all of that. Like if sometimes there's a clutch where there's a couple of those just superstar winners in there, and then the rest of the clutch is not. So it's a little easier to kind of hone in on. But now this clutch, I would say, is pretty across the board.
Yeah.
They really are very consistent in that kind of upper, these Neos, I was going to say, they don't look like Chondros don't hatch like that. Not only have we bred selectively and compounded their adult looks and exasperated them and gotten more blue out of them and more of this, well, we've definitely bred their neonate appearance to an unnatural state.
For sure.
It's funky and concentrated. They look badass. That's not, you don't see a sarong baby looking like that.
And I will ask Patrick, if you're listening, this is probably for you to answer because he's a BIAC fucking fanatic. Like he's very dialed in when it comes to working with just pure BIAC pairings. And BIAC is locality snake that's caught in the wild, and we see some nasty fucking BIACs, like some dirty, crazy green, almost designer looking BIACs come from the wild. And I'm wondering what they look like as red Neos, because I know some of those BIACs could be insane looking red Neos sometimes. Maybe not to this drastic extent here, which I wouldn't know. That's why I want Patrick to kind of answer that. I'm wondering if Patrick, if you've bred any crazy red, extreme looking pure BIAC Neos that could possibly be ones you could find in the wild But like, you know, we're talking like, I don't know, like if it's one thing that I'm able to just learn from you guys and know what to pick out when it comes to holdbacks is the darker, the better, man. The darker, the better. Those fucking orange diamonds. And I want to talk to you guys about this because I noticed some have a complete dark black line going down its back, right? You've seen some of those dark dorsal neonates where it's like black, but then you also have some that have no pattern at all, and they're just almost black, like Bill, like the darkest one you had last year. So do you guys almost shoot for stuff that maybe has no pattern to it whatsoever? And is that maybe the biggest thing to look for in some of this designer stuff, is the stuff that shows you almost no patterning?
It could go either way. I mean, like when Greg Maxwell did his Calico Dream pairing, I had first pick from that clutch, and I picked the most plainest looking one, and it turned out great.
Yeah.
What the other ones look like, do you know?
Yeah, I've actually got over the years, I kept a photo album of pretty much all of them. Whenever somebody would post one, I'd save the picture. So I've got a really good archive of that particular clutch by ID number from baby until they either died or, you know, people quit posting photos of them.
Your girl, was that a female? And she was from Calico Junior to Daydream?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was a clutch mate to October. I was just talking about.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
And Mr. Black and Mark Spatero had a snake called Bruise.
Yes, that was one of them. Yep.
That was a really fucking badass one.
Yep.
Damn, and these are like kind of like back in the day snakes that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
I mean, when Greg Maxwell paired, when he was, you know, think about it, man, there wasn't all these people with calicos. He had the founder male, and it was being bred to these founder females for their very, so you were watching the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 calico clutches hit the earth. And man, I mean, there wasn't, they were blowing the doors off of what we'd ever seen. The Dream Lemon pair was kind of on that, and that's where Daydream came from. And there was the whole clutch was just like this, holy shit, what planet are these things from? And then Maxwell was hitting it with the calicos, and then he got Daydream from that pairing, and then paired his calico line with that Dream line, and that's when he just really elevated the shit to the next level for Chondros.
Damn, that's insane.
And then he had another male named Rainex, and he bred him to Daydream too. And he was just, that era of Chondros were really eye opening, like what Chondros could do. It was cool.
Now, I mean, does it interest you guys to get some of the other people's work, some of people's top work with your guys' stuff? Like I don't know, Bill. I mean, obviously you have a certain lineage that you stay tall on, but is there anyone else out there who has a certain lineage that you're curious what it would do to your current status of your work?
Absolutely, and John is a classic example. I've got an incredible male from him that I've been working with for a couple of years. And then I just got a Calico Neo, my first Calico from MARC. So I definitely want to, I don't want to, Greg Maxwell kind of, he had this incredible Calico stuff, but he really had no choice but other than to, breed that Calico to Calico, right? I mean, to get enhanced, that Calico lineage. I'm working with melanistic stuff, and I don't have to do that. I don't have to breed, siblings from, my melanistic stuff, because I can go out and I can breed it to some of John's stuff.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, shout out to Chad Holker, man. What a guy. That's my buddy, man. And Bill, you met Chad at your place. Do you remember Chad?
I know Chad very well from, Ball Python mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah, now he's a Chondro guy.
Dude, for reals. And I think last year, it was about this time last year where he was telling me how he had some sort of collaborations working with you, John. And I'm like, and he's like, do you know John? I'm like, do I know John? Are you kidding me? I was like, you have collaborations with him? Like, how the hell did this work out? And I'm curious, like, what a well-respected ball python guy in the ball python game. But how did this work out where he was able to get a collaboration with you and the green tree pythons and whatnot? I'm curious how that worked.
Well, so I there was this guy that he knew in Virginia Beach, and he posted, this was like back in the day when you could trust something like this, but he posted some ad that was like blue line green tree python female adult for sale. I was like, so I inquired, and it was from, it was some dude in Virginia Beach, and he had a bunch of snakes from Rico. And this guy fell on hard times and like dumped his collection to this guy that was on the local scene in Virginia Beach, like the reptile scene and ball pythons and all that. And he had these snakes, and they were all these like Rico animals. And this female was from Rico's Godiva repeat clutch. So he bred his Mr. Blue Carolina male to a bluebird grasshopper female and repeated the same pairing that Brad Johnson did to produce Godiva. And it was a lot of blue snakes. So Rico realized he had the same animals and took a shot at it. And so anyway, he had this female. When he sold me this female for $1,500. And, she had not just a blue line dad. Her dad was a Mr. Blue Carolina animal, like from the famous pairing. And I was just crazy,
wow,
for that price. So anyway, but he had bred that female before that to a Maxwell blue line animal and couldn't get the babies to feed. He had like a clutch like 16 from her, this epic clutch. Anyway, Chad got one of them from him and got his to feed, and that female grew up to be this female Storm. And Chad ended up just over knowing the other guy and getting that snake, and then Chad having, I had the mom and he had Storm. And so I made friends with him just because he had the daughter to the mom I just bought. And so anyway, we just became friends, and he just turned out to be the nicest, most level-headed, calm, easygoing, friendly guy, helpful, and just a nice dude. And he's also just highly experienced. He's not done chondros as much as I have, but he's kept a lot of snakes for a long time. So, it's like he's not probed many chondros, but he's probed 10,000 other snakes, type guy. So he just knows his way around a snake.
Yeah.
So he's a cool dude. And then anyway, he realized that he wasn't going to, he just didn't have the time to pull it together. And he just asked me to take her and breed her. And I bred her. And because he was local, we could establish some trust there. And and produced a clutch with her and split the babies with him. And then unfortunately, I lost his female. Again, shout out to Chad. Some people aren't weathered hardcore and can handle things like that, but he's experienced, and so he rolled right through that. And he understood that thing could happen, and it did. And I felt real bad, but I just made sure I leaned the best three out of the club. I knew I was going to sell most of mine, and so anyway, I just made sure I steered the best ones to Chad, and he let me pick them for him, and he trusted my picks, and he got the best ones. So he's got some badass ones he's raising up right now.
Dude, and so Wrangler, this is a sire though. He's still going and doing well.
No, Wrangler, I lost.
Oh, what? Damn!
Yeah.
RIP Wrangler. What happened to Wrangler?
Well, a lot of that 2014 and before stuff, that's just kind of when we were finding out about Nido.
Okay.
And so, some of that stuff got isolated over to the side and only bred with what it got bred with. And that's kind of what I was saying, so as I isolated and separated the rest of the collection from some of that stuff, when I moved to my new collection, it was time for all these young males to take the lead and all these. So I've got this new crop of females and this new crop of young males, and a few of them were ready this year, and 10 more will be ready next year. And I got a whole army of nice males and stuff like that, but we had to kind of cut our way apart from the older stuff. And
wait. So
we didn't cut our way apart from Wrangler. Wrangler, he departed on his own. But.
I was gonna say, okay, it wasn't that you like handed him off to someone else.
No, I've done that, and I would do that with anything that was asymptomatic. But he was very asymptomatic for a very long time, and he was a solid breeder, man. And I got a ton of stuff out of him, and I just oh, if I could have made a version of him that wasn't Nido positive, that would have been wonderful. But he, he just produced really colorful stuff. He punched way above it. I mean, he produced a super blue. He produced Frostbite, that black male that was involved with the.
Wow.
He produced some really screaming high yellow stuff. He could go in a couple of different directions. He was a total sleeper and a great breeder. And anyway, a huge loss to lose him, but it was what it was.
But I mean, it wasn't a complete loss, right? Because you still have his bloodline in your collection. Like there's still babies from him that you have.
Oh yeah, several males and several females.
So I think that's the biggest thing, right? Like Bill, like I remember, I mean, you held it together more than I did when you told me you lost sickness and for the first time. I was pretty devastated, but you were able to establish how many babies from sickness, even though he wasn't here for too long?
14.
Fuck.
14.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
I mean, kind of like John said, I just counted my blessings, man. It was tragic, for that to happen. But I was very lucky because he passed relatively young. But he was a young breeder. I, got lucky to get one clutch from him. So,
yeah. Now, I mean,
so many epic males out there, dude. So many males and epic females, period. Back in the early days, went down without ever producing a clutch. And we didn't know about Nido, and who knows if that's what they were lost to. But as we figure that stuff out, some like a snake like Warzone, think about that. With what we know now, like he didn't breed for me this year, but he will eventually. And I'm going to keep him alive for fucking ever. I'm breeding everything because I'm going to keep him. I know now to not let him get any of that. Now he could still go down for other reasons, but I'm just saying odds are I've got some real sweet males, and one of them's going to be a killer breeder. I just don't know who's going to be the champ, and he's going to, one of them's going to live a long time and put out a lot of shit.
You see how the power numbers are on your side when you just have fucking heat to rotate through? What the fuck? You're in the best position ever. But obviously, they didn't come
there will
overnight.
be a couple down there that don't ever do anything for me.
Yeah, I mean,
I think John brings up a great point. We had this period, and Marshall and John can both talk to it better than I can because I wasn't there yet. But we had a period in the 90s, I guess, Maxwell, Rico, as we're cranking out big numbers. There were a lot of green trees available, some badass green trees available in the United States. And then all of a sudden seemed to go over a cliff, for maybe a decade, where a lot of the old time guys just seem to disappear, dry up, minimal
collection died off. Nido.
Yeah, and I think John and Marshall was right. I think they didn't know it at the time, but it was Nido that was just decimating these collections. And now there's a rebound, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And what do you think helped that rebound? Like, what do you think caused that? Was just kind of people becoming more on top of their biosecurity and being more aware of shit? Or what do you think helped that rebound?
Testing for Nido and at least separating, Nido animals from collections or, whatever. Just, I think being able to detect Nido is the biggest reason. John, Marshall.
Just being aware of it.
Yeah. Just, even if you've got some symptomatic stuff, asymptomatic stuff. The number one goal is to just not pass it to the next generation. Yeah. And it's kind of like a self-cleaning oven. You know what I mean? They just take care of themselves. They're not that big a deal. It doesn't jump across the room or like run down the street and like attack. If you can keep that stuff over there and get it away from your other stuff and just not keep reinfecting the next crop, eventually that old stuff goes away, right? It just breeds itself out and passes away, or you eventually dwindle down to the last few and you can make the call and get rid of them. And, you can work your way toward a cleaner collection, just by, a little bit of awareness and, yeah. And I know testing doesn't catch it all, but testing a little bit and trying your best to sterilize and keep the old shit away from the new shit. You know what I mean? Feed babies on a separate day. Touch the babies first.
Yeah.
Don't clean all your adult cages elbow deep in their cages and then go feed your precious new calico clutch. Like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So do you think that within the next 10 years you might see a massive decrease of Nido? because it seems like everyone coming into this and everyone who is in this right now is on top of Nido.
Yeah.
Do
It
you
will always
think?
be around though, man. There's just always going to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's always, there's just going to be some people that aren't doing it, aren't trying at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then they spread it around. They send
Yeah.
their
And,
snakes off.
and let's be real, it's still out there. Like, there's people out there who for sure and know knowingly that they have snakes with Nido.
Oh,
And obviously we want the right kind of people to be working with those kind of snakes, but we can't police who fucking lets those snakes go to someone else. That's the thing. And that's the thing where we have to be on top of our shit and make sure, first and foremost, if you buy any snake that's an adult or any snake like that, it should come with the Nido test. Like that's kind of like the new protocol when purchasing a chondro nowadays, you would say.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like everyone, that I know, test their collection. Whenever they get a snake in, they test it. They'll test it multiple times. They'll quarantine. They'll do all they can to prevent Nido from even coming in their collection.
Yeah. But then again, let's talk about people who do that and then finally they get Nido all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are you ready to do what you need to do? That's what you need to ask yourself. And a lot of people, maybe I ain't gonna tell nobody about this. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know. Like, we just don't know. That's why it's like at the end of the day, no matter how many people we say or we think test or say test, I always act like people don't test. And I'm always gonna fucking like, I need to know. You know what I'm saying? So, and then always test what comes into your shit, even though you get a test. That's why you just can't go wrong with testing. It's out there for a reason. So you just got to use it. You know what I mean?
I think Alex is right that Nido testing, at least for subadults and adults, is the new standard. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward that, people, or not unexpected that people will ask you to Nido test. But I think what's even more important is that as somebody that receives the animal, you Nido test it immediately or almost immediately, and because anything can happen on the other end, right? I mean, worst case scenario, they don't get a good sample, or best case scenario, worst case scenario, somebody's not transparent, about their testing. So
right.
Yeah, Dave, when he ships the snake, he puts the Nido test right in their paperwork, right on it, So he tests it. The moment he gets his negative results back, that's when he places the ad. Typically with the stuff he sells, it sells in a week or two. Yeah. And then that test result goes right in the box and he ships it. So when the first thing they open, and that date on there is like a week and a half prior or whatever. And so that typically kind of just makes that transaction go real well, right? They're less concerned. He's kind of covered his butt.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. By covering your butt too.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to hear as a seller, 3 months later, somebody comes back to you and says, I've got Nido in my collection.
Right.
And it's not 100. It's not saying that the snake could. It's not. It's just. It's like, look, I've done everything I can. Right.
Exactly.
Everything I can to deliver something of quality to you. And at some point, we have some shared risk here.
Yeah.
But I've done everything I can to make sure I'm sending you something healthy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Kind of, changing gears here. What are your cage sizes, John? What do you prefer with your adult chondros? What do you have them in?
My adults are in probably a little smaller than some people keep them in. They're 28 inches wide by 24 inches deep, and they're by 18 inches tall. And that's so I could get 4 stacked high. And they're a custom width too. They're boaphiles. And I got with Jeff Ronnie of Boaphile and asked him if he'd custom make them, because 30s, my room is basically 12 feet wide, and 30 would have only let me get 4 wide, and I would have just had a wasted gap that was close but no cigar on getting another cage in, and 28s fit 5 wide. So
yeah, and from your previous caging, what was different? Like, were they a little bit bigger before or no?
They were probably like maybe 32 wide by about 19 or 20 by 20, and they were Rubbermaid containers flipped with the face frame on them.
Oh, right. Okay, that's what Mark does.
And
Got those.
I believe it or not, like you kind of get when you cut the heat off, the heat just falls out of them kind of more quickly. You can really do a good job of cooling in them. Like, I think, and this goes with your snake rooms too. If you're building, I was telling Dave he's building a snake room, and because Christian had this problem, and I'm in a basement now. And this basement that I'm in used to be an unfinished space, right? So no air conditioning. So if you can, so what they did there is they insulated the floor. That's the house up there,
right?
So most houses don't have insulation between their floors and in their interior walls, unless you just want it for soundproofing or whatever. In like high-end construction, you could do that. But
you're right.
Houses don't have insulation between the internal walls and internal floors. Well, this one does, because it used to be an unfinished space below, and that was unconditioned space. But anyway, and they did all the interior walls and everything. So it's a little more of a compact room that I've built out really nicely that can, I'm keeping way more snakes in there because I'm just so efficiently built out, but it's an insulated little cooler. So you actually run the risk of being able to get the heat out. I have no problem I don't run a room heater anymore at all. My cages just turn on and the room just rises in temp from the cages. And I have more trouble getting the heat out. And so if you over insulate a snake room, it can be tough to you'll just be sitting at daytime highs all night long. And I was trying to open the door, but my wife was getting tired of the snake smell. You can keep them, She'll have, at least in her opinion, an odor. So she was busting my butt about it. So I put an exhaust fan on it. But anyway, back to the cages. Those tub cages are not very insulated. And we think, it was like overbuild, over-engineer. It's got to be insulated. I want it, thermal retention. But they actually were really nice when it came to cooling snakes down. So I think these boaphiles, kind of in a polished store-bought way, give me kind of what a tub cage gave me. It's like thin and lightweight, and you can go right up to them on the wall and pull them off. Because they're made out of 1/4-inch material and they're welded, and they're just built a little different than some of those 1/2-inch material cages, and so they're light and they cool down at night. And that's what I've got. So.
Yeah, and your night drops are about what? Like what time? Well, how cold's your room getting?
Well, I've been battling it, but ideally I'm getting down to 72, something like that.
Okay, and that's this time of year, right? Obviously.
Yeah, or 73 is fine. I've learned over the years they don't need to go as quite as cold as we used to take them.
They can handle it, but I don't think they need it. Like
they'll rev up and cycle, and I think that in general we've moderated, right? They're probably not kept as hot as they used to, and you don't need to cool quite as low as whatever. But
yeah, and your daytime highs are about what, and then your hot spot in the caging.
So I base everything off the cool side, and is what I really imagine that's where the snake spends the majority of its time, and that's where that year-long, effect of its conditions. That's what it's really being subjected to, and so I keep them there 80. They get up to about 82 during the day in the ambient, and they drop down to about 78 at night in the ambient. And I'm targeting basically a daily average temperature of about 80 degrees.
Okay, so
and I'm doing that with about a 75 to 77 degree room temp. So my room is about 75, 77 degrees.
A couple more in the cage.
And that allows for the panel. If your room is if your room temp is up at your thermostat setting, your panel won't kick on. You know what I mean? It'll just homogenize. And you won't have any kind of thermal gradient. So you got to keep your room down unless and I don't have a lot of gradient. I have center mount panels in a very short distance to each side. And so they're like 82 over here and they might be 85 under the panel or something like that. So I don't keep them as quite as hot, but I'd probably keep them a little warmer on the cool side than we used to. And then in the wintertime, again, the daytime high of 85, they have access to that. And then daytime high of 82 on the cool side, but they just drop all the way down to your 72 or 73. And there's variability, right? Just the temperature of the season, a warm night outside, the basement might not slam quite as low.
Right. And the beauty about having a chondro that just prefers the coldest side of the enclosure most of its life, once it starts creeping to the warmer side, you know something's happening, right?
Yeah, they use that warmer side for stuff, right? That's like they go over there to get something done, right? They're like, they bask while in shed, or bask while they're breeding, or bask while they're digesting, or bask while they're kind of tending to their immune system, like kind of giving that a recharge. But they live, basically their life is in the avoidance of heat. You know what I mean? They do a lot of that. Now, I'm sure keepers that keep them much lower, there's this other way of keeping chondros that has been popular for a while, where people keep them just ambient, like 83, like people, like when they'll call me, they're having problems, and they'll be like, what are your tips? And I'm asking them all my chondro helper questions, and and I don't even know. I'm like, because they'll spit off a basking temperature that's more like my cool side. I'm like, well, I just don't keep chondros like that. So,
I would say it sounds like, John, you do keep them a little bit warmer. I mean, then I think there's like a lot of things in what we do. There's a rebound. People fed too much, kept too warm, and then there's a rebound, and now not feeding enough and keeping too cool. So I mean.
And that's why
I knocked a couple degrees off my basking temp. I don't think that 87, 88 stuff, I don't think that's really necessary. They basically have a temperature that they live in, and then they need to get warmer than that sometimes, right? And now if they start hugging the shit out of it, right, I might bump it up a little bit, right? Yeah. But typically they just go over there for a touch and then come back. And so it's like, I don't even bother with like resetting the thermostats or trying to, unless I'm really seeing them do something bizarre and hang out there for a lot.
Yeah. And and with the monitors, people do 12 hours lighting, 12 hours off, right? And I know people do that with the chondros too, but I don't necessarily think the heat needs to be available for that long, for sure. Because I don't think they, like you said, they're only needing it for actual certain reasons. And I don't know, like I've definitely kicked back as far as how long I give them heat for in a hot spot, and I keep it at 8 hours. You know what I mean? And I just still notice that all my girls, just if there's nothing going on with them, they just prefer the colder side, unless it's a BX. BX like a lot hotter for whatever reason. But I notice all the other girls, man, they just hug that left side, and the ones that I have been getting locks on, and actually had one girl that just refused. She's not on the colder side as much. She's more in the middle now. So it's like, whoa, so. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I just think that's kind of indicators that people could kind of start building habits off of, knowing that if you have a female that's showing signs of wanting the colder side, and not hugging the heat. I mean, I feel like you're kind of in a good place, but really all depends on what, I don't know, like Bill says, people do a lot of different things, a lot of different ways. So
if I have a female that gets gravid and then she starts basking, I'll bump the thermostat up a little bit just to, really cast some good heat down onto her.
Yeah. And Marshall, how long have you been breeding chondros for now? How many years?
Since 2001 was my first clutch.
2001. Holy shit. So over 20 years under your belt.
Triple.
Right. And what I love about Marshall is like, man, he's not opposed of learning new things or trying to do new things. And one of the things that he did recently, and I don't know if this is your first time doing it, Marshall, but why don't you explain how you went ahead and got these 2 recent clutches that you had this year? What was your method of getting the girls to lay and whatnot?
As far as just the lay tub?
Yep.
Yeah, that was Ryan Young gave me the idea. The one female, this is her first clutch. The other one has laid one previously. Scattered them all over the cage. They went on to hatch fine, but she just never showed any interest in the nest box. And we're on our group chat with Ryan, and he mentioned that he went after pre-lay shed, he just prepares a tub in his ball python rack and puts some mulch and moss and stiff piece of like a thick piece of cardboard for them to hide under, and gives them a hot spot of, whatever, like 88 during the day and 84 at night. And I was like, well, shit,
obviously no purchase, right? Just
no purchase, just a dark ball python tub, opaque ball python tub. And I was like, shit, I'm going to do it. And then locked them both in there. And they did great. The one female, the calico tiger stripe female, did a pretty good job wrapping the eggs. The eggs were touching the bottom of the tub, so it wasn't like a complete beehive all the way around them. The eggs were touching the floor, and she was, coiled up around them pretty well. And the other one did do a pretty good beehive, but she left about half of them out. But still, you eliminate the risk of them dropping them off the perch or, dropping them in the water bowl. So yeah, it worked out great.
You left the water dish in there for both of them?
I did. I was going to take it out, but I was out of town for work all last week and I didn't want to leave them with no water. So I just put like a 1/4 inch of water in the bottom. And I was like, well, shit, man, if she lays a couple in there, at least it won't be all of them,
Dude,
I was gonna say, Alex, we did that same thing last year with a girl, right? That wouldn't stand her nest box.
Yeah. You put her in a Cambro tub.
Put her in a Cambro, same thing. Wasn't probably as small as what you did, but I just put her in a Cambro with. Well, I think we put moss in there, right, Alex?
Yeah.
The moss.
She laid just fine. Yeah, it worked out great.
That's the same thing. Small water dish.
And
the only thing
it almost eliminates a lot of variables by doing that.
Yeah.
It almost seems like it forces them to at least kind of bunch their eggs up.
Right.
They won't scatter them around everywhere.
Yeah. And both of them just went to the heat tape. And once they found their spot, they didn't move. Like I checked on them twice a day and they were always in the same spot.
So they both lay towards the back of the tub where the heat's at?
Yeah.
So did my girl. Same thing. That's the beauty of that setup is, you have heat tape. You're not relying on radiant heat panel from above to get in through the nest box or this side of the cage, that side of the cage. You got them in a pretty confined area. They're just on that heat. And I like that. I like that way of doing it too.
Yeah. Like I said,
that picture of hot stuff, the one that you shot down from or that you showed from above with her own eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in a Cambro tub.
Is she? Okay.
Yeah, I put my stuff in tubs too.
Do you put a lay box in there too, or you just? I can see it now, and there's not even any substrate, just the bottom of the tub.
I used to do substrate, but then just Buddy puts it, which is crazy. Buddy puts his stuff in a 6-quart Neo tub. I'm like, I need to come over to your house and see how big your females are, Buddy, because I got some girls that would look real weird in a 6-quart tub.
Yeah,
bunched up in there. But anyway, I put them in that 12,
the medium size Cambro tub. Yeah,
Cambro.
Yeah. So
just a bare tub with nothing in it.
I cover the front with cardboard so that it's essentially like they're in a little dark box.
And this is in a rack, like you have like a rack.
Yeah, it's in a rack. And again, I used to really be a little bit afraid of the heat tape. And try to only do it with. I still have them, but I don't like them. But anyway, I had some really big Cambros, and they had side and back heat. And I was a little bit nervous about having them lay on like a hot spot, but I just played with it with the temp gun until I was like, that hot spot is no warmer than they would incubate at, and so that can't hurt them. And I just got comfortable with it, and now I'm just like full send, chuck them in there.
And you temp gun at what, like 85? You put 85?
Yeah. And the snake just goes and zeroes right on the heat tape and just that's where she'll crawl around for a little while. But when she settles, it's right on that heat tape.
And the heat's on the floor or on the side of the wall? Where's the heat at?
That's a bottom heat rack.
Bottom heat. Okay.
And she lays them right there on that little spot, and it's easy, and you can peek in and see what's going on. And I'm just I joke around and I kind of say it to people more abrasively because people are so soft and they're like nervous and I'm like, just no mercy. All right, you need to be eyes on the prize. You've got a gravid female. Like, you don't want to be that dingbat that has the picture of your snake having like 15 eggs in the water bowl, man. They'd be like, I just want to leave water in, or people will post things like, I felt bad that she didn't have a perch. I'm like, take the perch and the water bowl away from them. These things are precious and they're not the smartest snake in the world. You know what I mean? So they'll fuck it up, and you can't. And Alex nailed it. It's all about trimming off the variables. I'm trying to prevent every possible thing. And I'm sorry if it's just a little mean to her for a handful of days. But
yeah. And I will say, it's funny because shout to Pedro, man. But 3 years ago, when Mimi, my Biak, gave me her first clutch, I was like also worried. I'm like, dude, she needs water. Like because they're like, everyone's telling me like, oh, she's probably gonna lay within the next. She's probably gonna lay within the next 7 to 10 days. And I heard some people say, don't pull the water. And I heard some people like, you wait a little bit and then you can pull the water. And I remember doing a story and I showed that, Mimi had water, and Pedro's like, brother, take that water dish out like right now. Like I would take it out. And I'm like, well, I'll put at least a 3-ounce deli cup. I'm like, what's that going to do? So I put the little 3-ounce deli cup. And what did this bitch do? She laid directly in the 3-ounce deli cup the day I filled it up. So it was full of water. Right. Yeah. And so she laid she was perfectly, the deli cup was in the middle of her, and she was beehived over the deli cup with basically eight out of the 15 eggs were wet.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me, dude. I could not believe out of everything she had in that 3x2x2, she chose that 3-ounce little deli cup because that just felt perfect. I don't know if you heard what I was saying right now, John.
I caught enough. I know. Yeah. It looks like a snake just threaded the needle for you.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. And I how do you think I felt telling Pedro what happened? He's like, he had just told me, he's like, bro, shout out to Pedro, man. But he was like, dude, take that water out. Trust me. And sure enough, a lot less.
Patrick's talking about hydration. So that begs to ask John if he soaks his gravid females before you do. I give them a soak. Let's say they ovulate. How many times would you soak them before?
Well, these days I just, I've just kind of trimmed it back a little bit. There's no problem with soaking them, and I've definitely soaked them before, like right before they shed and after they ovulate, and whatever, any kind of pattern you could assign to it. But just nowadays, what I basically do is I just soak them before putting them in the lay box that one time.
When do you put them in?
Well, if you can catch the ovulation, you can really time the lay day pretty good after if you have consistent temperatures in your collection and you've seen some consistency there. And so I put them in there about a week beforehand.
Yeah.
I try to keep it down to 4 or 5 days in there, but it could be.
I
don't think she needs to perch or anything.
You'd rather err on the side of too early than too late.
And that's right. Again, it's just eyes on the prize. It's like that Calico Girl or something like that. It's just like we just have to make sure this goes well.
Yeah. And what do you like? We're talking like 15, 20-minute soaks, nothing too long, right?
Yeah. A snake that's thirsty, typically you put them in there, they're going to drink immediately if they're going to drink at all.
Yep.
Interesting. Again, this is just a million different chefs in the kitchen, but I soak overnight. They'll get an 8-hour soak.
And I would soak over. I don't have any problem. I just put them in there and give them a while. And, but if they need to, I don't have any problem. I've soaked a snake overnight plenty of times.
My females that laid this past weekend, I thought one laid, I think Friday, one laid Saturday. They're soaking behind me right now still.
Really?
Wait, they've been soaked for how many days?
3 days.
Oh, wow.
Same water. You give them fresh water. Don't.
No, yeah, to change the water. Yeah, I changed the water.
You're just trying to hydrate them after the lay.
Yeah, and get the egg smell off them. After the show tonight, I'm going to put them back in their cages, but it doesn't hurt them. They're 83 degrees in the water.
Yeah.
A little fucking R&R, man, just resting up. You know what I mean?
I love it.
Sounds like hot spa with Marshall. No, but I just love that we're talking about other ways to eliminate risk. We're talking about earlier about getting a baby Neo to eat, and then now we're talking about ways to eliminate things that could go wrong when it comes to chondros laying all funky. Because no matter what you say, there's nobody out there who could really say I have 20 chondros that all lay in the fucking nest box. I think it all lies on personality and how the female feels, but you just have some females that want nothing to do with the fucking nest box. So by doing this, it kind of gives them options limited where they don't have a fucking choice. But I think something contained and warm is what they're looking for to begin with. It's like they almost turned into a ball python. They're like, we just want to be in a dark, warm, contained area, and we don't want to see nobody. And if you give them that, I think it goes well. You know what I mean? And also that's something I'm going to do for sure. I just feel it's just a way easier way to kind of also kind of put the snake at peace of mind too. Cause you know, from what I've seen in these 3x2x2s, the females are usually going crazy before they lay. They're all over the place. Like
they'll cruise around.
Yeah, they cruise. Even if they've been in the lay box for a while, they'll go out of the lay box and they'll start cruising everywhere. And it's kind of like, you know, are they panicking? Are they fucking stressed out? Or like, you know, what's going on? So they can't do that. They can't do that.
Both. Yes, both. They're panicking and they're stressed out.
Yeah, and then just at some point, I'm just like, okay, that's enough of that. You're freaking me out. I don't want you to like lay while crawling or something weird. So let's just lock you down and let you settle down. And about a day later of crawling around in a circle, they just chill out.
How many females have not given you a prelay shed though? Let's get to that.
I've never had that.
Me neither.
I have. I'd say 10%.
Wow.
10% of my females don't have a shed.
So it happens then. Good. Because I thought that was weird. I thought when that happened to me, I was one of those fucking just one of those kind situations. But no, I guess it's a thing, right? Females won't give you a prelay shed all the time.
It's a thing. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever had it in a ball python, or very, very rarely in a ball python.
Never had that with a ball python ever.
Marshall and MJ, I'm sure we've bred and we've seen many ball python females.
Yep.
Can't remember it happening, but it happens. But it happens in chondros. I'm telling you, it happens.
So weird, man.
And that's how you get people get burned. They miss an ovulation.
Yep.
And then they think their female's acting gravid, but they don't have a shed. They don't know when to pull the perches, and the next thing you know, they're laying off the perch. And I say that because it's happened to me once. And I know it's happened to Marshall.
Oh yeah, I'm the worst at spotting the ovulation. I catch it half the time, maybe if I'm lucky.
And you've had them not have a shed and then lay, right?
No, I've never had that.
So they've had a shed, but you just didn't think they were gravid, and then you look back and said, "Oh."
I time everything off the shed. No, I mean, because if they're off feed, in my experience, any female chondro that's ever gone off feed, it's because she's going to lay something, slugs or a good clutch.
Yeah, it's a good rule to live by, for sure.
Yeah, if a female's not eating, she's gravid, or sick, right?
She's not eating and goes all the way through a shed cycle. She's like, you're like, that's the prelay. That's
right.
No.
Well, that's what I tell Alex. She's either gravid or she's dying. I say that all the time. I mean, right, Alex?
Right.
She's either gravid or she's dying.
Do you think anyone out there who keeps really good records of like the amount of sheds and all that a seasoned female does, to where it could allow you to count how many sheds a female has before it lays again? Where and that's something you could possibly go off of as well.
Yeah, man. There's I think there's like, they're just kind of on this cycle anyway. Again, This is bro science. I don't know.
Right.
But they're cycling in a lot of different ways, right? And they're just kind of have a rhythm. And so I do that with my collection when I'm a little more right now. I mean, I'm doing it more by like Jedi senses, but I got those senses by doing a lot of thinking about this. And, if you keep good shed records, you'll see that female, you'll over a period of time, you'll basically kind of be able to see an average. Like, all right, she's shedding about this often. And then you'll kind of know like, all right, well, this shed is in August. So then 2.5 months later, one will occur in whatever time, August, September, October. And so then you could start cooling in advance. You could know the shed was coming. Instead of mistakenly, which I see a lot of people do, they'll pair their stuff up and a shed's coming in a week, or 2 weeks. And they could have known that. Now I don't pay as much of attention to it anymore, but you could pair something up and a shed happens all of a sudden, and then you have to break your pair apart. Or, you can do it kind of, what I've always had the best luck is when I'm super fine tuned and I see that shed coming, I know it's coming out in the distance. I start cooling, I start light cycling, I'm headed toward it. She sheds. I've also kind of got the male cycle in mind, and I put them together. And then I know I have several months before they'd even need to be separated. Like I've got a really nice long runway. If there is any kind of rhythm or cycle, I'm likely at the beginning of that. I don't have ultrasound to confirm all this stuff, but that's always been I've had good luck when I've really had, the full system dialed in. But these days I'm doing more of like sticking the males in there and seeing what they're doing. And, just going by eye and by feel a little more.
Yeah. I mean, I just always thought of that, but at the end of the day, I don't know. When you have a female that doesn't give you a prelay shed, what makes you think she'll just skip a fucking shed or something weird? I don't know. So that's why it's like, you can never really not take too many records, or you can just be like Ryan Young and say, don't give a fuck. I'm just here to have fun. Just really what different.
Yeah, they do. There's definitely, and I don't keep like feed cards anymore on individual Neos, and like I keep different, less records than I used to. So I'm not just winging it, and I do keep some records, but nothing like I used to.
Yeah. Bill counts every shed.
You don't know me that well, my friend.
I'm just kidding.
I'm lucky to have a Post-it note plastered to the cage and make a check mark or something.
Keeping records is the worst. God, it's just like another thing you have to do,
Well, it's easy to fuck up too. Let's be honest. Like, let's say you have all these things going on, and it's just easy to skip anything. Like it's just more work.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
I can't imagine doing it electronically. Like,
oh my God. I mean, no,
that's I'll say this. That's a lifesaver. Cause I do it now with Reptile Scan, and it makes it very easy. Like, before the show tonight, I fed whatever, 125 ball pythons. I'll go through now and go back and check them before I go to bed. And I'll just, zap the QR code for the rack and hit feed, and it'll pull them all up. And if there's any that didn't eat, I'll go check those boxes and just hit feed. And it logs it for all of them.
Yeah. But I mean, also though, getting that set up to that point is still.
Oh yeah, the data entry is a bitch. Yeah, it's a bitch.
And it's kind of like what John was saying about like staying on top of an updated website, which is a pain in the ass. Like it's cool getting your website, and I just learned this last year. Paid money, got my website all up and going, but then I realized I wasn't updating it and shit, and I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
like, and it just got old. Like I was like, and I know I need to do it, and I know I will, but it's man, it just. It's like my head, like Bill was saying, I'm shaking.
Thinking about it.
But yeah, I don't know. I shout to anyone out there who's all about keeping records and stuff like that. I mean,
I keep records on on the stuff that's in my collection.
Right.
But like Neos, I'm not like, I would only mark one that's having problems.
That's what I do. I mark ones that are having problems.
Right. Anything that's going to a new home, but once it steps there, turns into a yearling, and it's destined to the main collection, I use Husbandry Pro, and I do what Marshall does, because I can just auto hit and blast the whole group at the same time.
And I'm sure you guys all know this, but there's people out there like this guy Alex that probably know more about your own collection than you do. Like, dude, there's these guys that just are geeked out over this shit. And there are a bunch of mini Patrick Holmes out there now, where they're just like encyclopedias of names and lineages, and I think that's what creates the Chondro world so exciting.
Who are these people?
Oh man, I'll let you know.
Well, listen, MJ. When you're talking about records like that, that's different than husbandry records. I think records like, lineage records are very, very, very important for everybody that's on this call and everybody that's listening.
Yeah, I definitely keep lineage records.
Yeah, I'm talking about day to day, like husbandry.
Yeah, of course.
Dead shit, feed, fuck, whatever.
Dude, that snake I got from that guy in Virginia Beach, that was from Rico. Rico had some ancient version of digital reptile keeping, and it came with this like book. And man, Rico, it was like from its neo stage. I mean, it was like, I was like, man, back in March of 93, or whatever, like back in March of 2000 and so that thing ate a pinky. It had every poop, and I was like, damn, Rico.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
I mean, you got some people.
Rico.
I was gonna say you got some people that are just that dialed in, and maybe it was like an OCD of his. Who knows? But that's something that guy did, and he didn't take he didn't skip any steps from what I heard about Rico. Like he did everything, like notated.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a very zoological background. Yeah, a zoo background.
So I have a wrap up question. If you guys want to get one loaded, I'm going to go first.
MJ, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but can I briefly, I talked to the guys from RGI about the Chondro show.
Oh yeah. Why don't you drop that real quick, Bill? Go ahead.
Yeah, 2 seconds. And I can't think of a better person to have on, high-end designer, producer that this may apply to. It's not going to apply and be for everybody, but the guys at RGI are going to be releasing, if they haven't already. Ben asked me to discuss it, so I know he doesn't care that I'm talking about it, but they are ready to accept sheds
nice
for sex analysis, and I'll just give you the skinny on it real quick. So basically, they're what they would require, and this is, John will know this, this is nothing new. So shed on the sire, shed on a known male relative to the sire, shed on the dam, and then the baby sheds. And then they can analyze the baby sheds and tell you with a very high degree of certainty, male and female. Now, it is not inexpensive to do this. It's evidently a very time-consuming a thing that they need to do. They have to, quote unquote, fire up the equipment. So they're not going to do it until they can get 5 groups of sheds in. Okay. Wow. So they're not even going to start until I send a group of sheds in, and John sends a group in, and Marshall and Alex and you. Once they get 5 groups of sheds in, then they'll kick the dust off the machine and they'll roll out and start doing the analysis.
Okay. That's cool.
So it's not going to be an overnight process once you start sending sheds in, and it's not going to be cheap. But the bottom line is for a grouping of what I just described, up to the first 10 Neo sheds, it's $2,500. So you're looking at $250 a Neo shed for the first 10. After that, let's say you have a clutch of 16. It's $2,500 for the first 10, and then $100 per baby after that. So again, you think, sounds expensive, but when you're talking some high-end designer animals, it's really not that expensive for $200 or $250 a baby.
I have a question though, Bill. And this is great news, obviously, but how much price difference? Like, let's say we're talking about one of your guys' productions that you wait 2.5 years to transition, right? And then you see what you're looking at. And let's say you have 2 similar animals, 2 similar neos neos that are from the same clutch, but they're male and female. How much price difference are you going to price that anyways?
Well, I think this is really for people that are planning on releasing neos that are, that 12 months old. Once they turn 2, you can sex them, with pretty good results, 2 to 3 years old.
Right.
And this is more for somebody that wants to determine maybe their holdback ratio.
Right.
They want to sell, and that person, he's got to have a male, and as a seller, you don't want to wait 18 months or 2 years to sell it. And as a buyer, he doesn't want to wait 18 months to 2 years to buy it.
Right.
This is the niche market that's going to fulfill.
And I can only predict that in the Chondro world, if you have a serious buyer, this fucking buyer will pay for this shit. So
I can just tell you in past experience, $200 or $250 is laughable.
Yeah.
People want a male. They want to know it's male. They'll pay for the male. And so, but anyway.
I guess if they were buying like a big high-end purchase of a really extreme snake from Neo, they would, sure, you just add it on to the price. You could even just, if I was to do that, I would price the baby at like $5,250. So that way it really just highlighted this is a $5,000 neonate, and you paid to have a gender determination. A female might be $6,250.
Right.
Plus shipping.
Marshall, you cold-blooded bastard. Plus $59.99 to ship.
No, 53.10.
But if you were like a dude that had like 6 times in a row, which happens, like struck out and got males, you're like, oh my God, dude, I have got to, even if it costs a little bit of cash to grease the wheel, I've just got to get a female. Then
it's I don't know, just for me. And again, it's not for every clutch. It's not for every breeder or every person, but I think they're going to get their 5 clutches a year. I think they're probably really looking to get between 5 and 10 clutches a year, for this project. Listen, doing ball python shed analysis is by far their bread and butter. I think they're offering this really almost as a service.
Yeah, they're doing this to make Bill happy.
not just me. And listen, Ben geeks out on this stuff. He loves this stuff. And of course, the Holy Grail and what they can do in other species is the single shed analysis, right? Where you just send them a shed, a neo shed, a wild caught, or whatever. You send them a shed and they can tell you if it's male or female. And they've been working on that, and they have poured a lot of resources into that for green trees, and it just has not panned out. They've not been able to do it. So they're offering this, I think, as a intermediate between. Hopefully, they can get that Holy Grail, the single shed analysis.
It is really cool, this world of reptiles that we're currently in. Like, we're able to kind of scan these things for viruses, and while it's not perfect, it'll get better. And while there are other things that they can't test for, they'll figure that out over time. And in this DNA thing, there's a lot of untapped potential there.
Yeah.
That the future of DNA marker assisted reptile breeding, breeding for traits and these DNA markers, it's going to be bad.
You can tell from the shed how a neo is going to look like when it's 5 years old.
Yeah, there's all kinds of cool shit. So anyway, the next 15, 20, 30 years of snakes.
Oh, no, I don't know about that one. That would that'd be an interesting one.
Now that's making you shake, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, that is.
No, not that.
All right, let's get to wrap-up questions. So, John, we talked a little bit about the powerful male roster that you have when it comes to the breeding lineups, but what are some of your favorite females or the favorite female you have in breeding rotation for 2024?
I'm going to try that Frosty Lucy female. She's really nice and off a pretty famous male. You talking about next fall? I may try some 2024 or some 2020 stuff. So I've got a bunch of stuff that I produced in 2020. I've got some blue line stuff. In fact, hot stuff. She only laid the 8 eggs, and so she just didn't lose a lot of weight. So I'm going to breed her again.
Nice.
Yeah, calico stuff, blue stuff. Got some hot stuff that I'll be pairing up.
All right, bitchin'. Who wants to go next?
I'll go, since we just brought up the whole shed analysis. John, would you pay $2,500 to get that clutch sex?
I don't think so. I think it would be more for snakes I was planning to sell.
Okay.
You know what I mean? As neonates.
Oh.
But I'm going to hold these for a year. And so because I'm going to hold them for a year anyway, I'll likely sell any as probed or just no guarantee unsexed or something.
Or are you even likely to sell a nice looking snake that you've bred a female? Are you likely to sell a female, or are you likely to keep that?
Well, and then I'm in a real sweet spot. I got enough snakes that I don't really care if I get a male or a female. I could make use of any of them. I'm not like a guy that just like, I need a stud. I kind of got a bunch of males and a bunch of females. So I'm just looking to keep the best looking one no matter what it is. I don't really care at this point. And so, but now if I was going after a blue line clutch, I would utilize, and I was trying to, let's say I was like, man, I got this blue line clutch and I want to sell some of them. But I want the bluest ones. Well, that normally falls into the males. So I might want to filter out the males and hold them back so that I could potentially score that super blue or something. So, for clutches I was planning to sell as Neos that had buyers that just needed a certain gender, I would do it. Or if I was trying to hunt for a phenotype that is typically only found in one gender, or at least predominantly found in one gender, I would do it. But this is just such a little tiny little special clutch. I'm just going to keep them for a long while and see what they do.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah. All right, who wants to go next, Marshall or Alex? Marshall.
Alex, go for it.
All right, fine, Alex.
All right. I think we need to show more snakes on this podcast. John.
Thanks, Alex. Fuck. Tell me what else this podcast needs, fucker.
We'll talk after. Would you mind if I showed you my velvet offspring?
Oh yeah, let's see it.
Okay, great. His name is Gasanova, and he's awesome.
Wow.
I'll be quick, MJ.
That's an interesting question. I guess he did ask if he could show it.
What a fucking marketing fucking.
I mean, I guess that's a question. He asked if he could show it. You should have just said, "Yeah, you can show it." And
I didn't know where we were going. He's like, "Do you mind if I show you my?"
Whoa,
Alex, easy.
Whoa, now, wait till the show's over.
All right, it's the Alex show now.
There you
go.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's off that Tommy girl.
Worth it.
Yeah. It was SH 16909 bred to velvet.
Yeah, that was a really consistent clutch.
It was. I think every single snake in that clutch just turned out crazy.
They look a lot like mom. They're blue and black, and and they've kind of got that blue look that they're all going to just get bluer over time. You're going to see that clutch is going to be a nice contributor in the future. Like,
you got that from John, Alex, or who'd you get that from?
No, I got it from Christian.
Oh wow! So you got that one and Gasanova from Christian. All right,
this is Gasanova.
Oh, my bad. Okay, I heard
like 2 or 3 years from now, when that whole crop of snakes are on the scene as adults, they're going to be doing.
Yeah, and he's a male.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Badass.
So.
All right, that was worth it, Alex. Congrats, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex ain't gonna be able to sleep tonight. That just made it everything right now to be able to.
That's the only reason I wanted to come on the podcast.
John Irby liked his snake. He can go to sleep now.
You're a sick fuck.
You got some good girls to go with it.
That was great. That was good. Bravo, Alex. You're doing great by that snake and on everything else, man. Props to you.
Thank
buddy.
you. I appreciate it.
All right, Marshall. What you got, Marshall?
Number one, I'll keep it easy. Number one chondro of all times.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Damn.
Number one of all time. You might piss some people off out there.
Probably Mr. Blue. And not because there are more like wowzers, extreme snakes, but if there was any bigger icon, in the chondro world, as far as just really, man, like, wow, chondros can do that. Wow, they can be a blue one. Holy shit. They were really
OG, right? Just the OG.
He's just an OG. When he came on the scene, it was just chondros were like, I mean, think about it. Hobby wide. It's like, holy shit, there's a blue one. There are not a lot of snakes out there that have a solid blue version of them. So he was cool.
So he's like the Godfather, you would say, in a sense. Like he's the guy.
I don't know.
And he lived to be 20 plus years old, I think, right?
He got a lot of cool traits about him. He bred at 3 years old. I mean, it's crazy.
Being fed medium rats.
Yeah.
Was he really?
I don't know. I'm sure.
So go around. What's all y'all's favorite snake of all time?
Oh man. Okay. I don't want to go first. Alex, you have to go.
Oh, you already know what I'm going to say the sickness.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marshall.
I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with something from the Calico Daydream clutch. Probably October. I would say October is one of my favorites. Also, I'll just leave it at that.
Damn.
Okay.
Bill, what you got, Bill?
will-
Diablo's up there too.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah, that one's crazy.
Yeah, I forget about some of these things.
I'm gonna like round out because we got a blue line, we got a calico, we got sickness. I'm gonna go mosaic. Pedro's male.
Yeah,
Mosaic.
He was really
That's a good one.
nice male.
and I just have to speak on my current era, because I mean, of course, I could go back into the book and talk about October and stuff, but
Yeah,
that's like talking about like wrestlers from the 70s. I can't really relate to that.
no, I get it.
But
Yeah.
what I can relate to this, and I just don't want to copy Alex, but the sickness was the first one. That was the very first anything, but made me realize what chondros can do. And then also made me realize how unique sickness was. But because you said sickness, I'm gonna have to say Optimus Prime. And that's the male that Socrates has, which links to the Insanity line, I guess. And I guess the Insanity line, which I haven't heard too much of, but I saw that snake in person, and that changed my whole perspective also on a different level. I never got to meet sickness, unfortunately, but also I will say before Socrates' collection, Bill's collection was the first collection where I almost thought I was going to faint. Like I was sweating. It wasn't even that hot. The ambient was like 73. It was great in that grill, but it was very like musty. I felt like I was choked up because how ridiculous these animals looked. And also Marshall too. How can I forget Marshall's place? I mean, I would say too, unique wise, Marshall has probably one of the most unique vibes to any room I've ever been into. It's amazing. And you can just tell someone who's been in the game for a long time, but doing it right when you step into Marshall's room. And I guess I'm just going around the horn right now, but dude, Marshall, your room is fucking tits, bro. I really miss your room too. I'll never forget leaving after visiting your place. I got sad because I was like, it may be a while before I come back here, but I'm coming back soon. But I really love your room too, Marshall. I'll give you props on that, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, but man, thank you so much, John. This was an epic episode. 2 hours went by fast. We were just shy of 100 people tonight. So, what do you have to say? What do you have to say to anyone out there who just supports everything you have going on? But just really like I said, John, I have a lot of people that give me feedback and they compliment animals I show off that I got from Bill and Socrates, and they share animals that they even gotten from you, and they tell me all this stuff that they know. So you have people that just really study the work that you put out there and just admire your hard work. So what do you have to say to all those people out there, John?
Yeah, I really appreciate it. It's kind of crazy. You know what I mean? I for one, I really appreciate it. And I would say that wherever anyone's at, I've been there, you know what I mean? And it just takes setting a target and staying focused on it and, incrementally working your way there. So, the snakes that I have were the snakes I used to like daydream about. And then now I have them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so just stay true to just be don't fuck your relationships up in the hobby, right? Don't get yourself run out of the hobby.
Yep.
Treat people right, build strong, genuine relationships. People will help you out. And just the next thing you know, you've got nicer snakes in your collection than you do now. And it just builds, and one day you can kind of take it in any direction you want. So,
I mean, me and Alex Warren will tell you, being the newest keepers on this show tonight, relationships are everything, huh, Alex?
Absolutely.
Yep. We would be nothing with what we have as far as mentorships, but friendships. But and Bill, we talked about how great of a fucking human Alex is. Like, Alex is a legit good fucking person. So relationships are everything, right? And if you're a good person, you got to.
I've said it before, and before I say my goodbyes to John, I've said it before. I've said it to Alex. I've said it to you guys. I would not be where I am right now without Alex Warren. That's the truth. Alex
and Jose,
and Jose, of course, but Jose's not on the show. But Alex thinks that I've done a lot for him, but I don't know that if he realized how much he's done for me. And it's not because of tips that he's given me or coming in and helping me in the room, but there were some times in my life in the last few years where I was down with some physical stuff, and I would not have been able to do what I have done in that room the last few years without Alex. So what John said, these relationships, man, they mean so much more than the animals to me.
Yeah, dude, that's how we take care of the animals, is by staying strong. How the hell we take care of this shit if we're all fucked? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
you need it. So that was a good end to this episode, John. And again, I appreciate you so much for hanging out. But guys, it's a wrap. Give it up for John Irby, Mid-Atlantic Arboreals, ladies and gentlemen.
Big internet group hug.
Love you, man.
Love you, bud. Thank you, John. Have a good night, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks
See
so
you,
much.
John.
Thank you, John.
See you later.
Yep.
Alex, really, that show and tell, you didn't prepare me for that, dude. All right, and you're gonna get fined for that, by the way.
That was such a fanboy move.
I thought he was gonna ask, like, John, can you show us something? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But he's like, I
want to show you.
He said this. He said, I don't think this show shows enough stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's my turn. Let me show you something. No, Alex.
I can teach you a thing or two, MJ.
Fuck you, bitch. Who taught you how to ASFs? All right, don't
Fine.
No,
we could both teach each other a thing or two.
I will. I mean, you're teaching me how to design her, buddy. That snake, Gasanova, probably one of my most favorite snakes I'm seeing on the internet, bro.
Yeah,
I love that. Ever since a baby, ever since you showed me the baby pic, I knew. I was like, you son of a bitch. But mind you, that's the heaviest pickup of your life, isn't it? Isn't Gasanova?
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. Both my cars are not worth that snake.
Oh my God. Good episode, fellas. Alex, since you're the guest co-host tonight, what did you think about tonight's episode, and what were your feedback overall?
I thought it was a great episode. There's so much knowledge between everyone here, and I think that anyone coming into this needs to listen to these podcasts.
Respect.
So, it's just a great opportunity, and I'm glad to be here.
100%. Let's go to Marshall. Marshall, what do you think of tonight's show?
I thought it was great. I wish we would have talked about fish more. I had a whole list of fish wrap up hot seat questions that I spared everybody. I spared everybody. I didn't ask them. So you're welcome.
Thank God. All right, Bill, what was your overall assess on tonight's show?
I've really been looking forward to it. John is really one of the guys that I look up to in this game. John has it all. John's very smart. John is very observant. He knows his animals, and he just has it all. He's just a good guy. He's great for the community. And I was really looking forward to this, this podcast in particular, because I have a lot of respect for him. Yeah, man. And like I said, it kind of goes back to you guys. Thank you so much for being a part of tonight's show. It was a really good roundtable. And what's crazy is, as much as 2 hours went by quick, like, we could really take this shit 6 hours if we really had to. Like, it's crazy how we could just continue every conversation into another next conversation, because it's like a never ending cycle. You know what I mean? And this is why what makes parties at the Mayor House is fucking even next level, because you're just geeking out over shit, and it just it does go 6 hours or 12 hours.
Right. God, it gets me exhausted just thinking of it, man. But listen, guys, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Amazing Arboreals on IG, Red Mountain Herps on IG, and Phoenix Reptiles on IG. Give it up for my homies. It's a wrap, guys. Bill Stiegel, Marshall Mendez, and Alex Warren, ladies and gentlemen.
See you guys next week.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much. All right.
See you later.
Later, guys. Woo! What a great episode. Appreciate everyone who tapped in. All in the Tree Tuesdays. Man, I don't know. Might be the most exciting episode of the week. You guys tell me. Let me know. I just love it. I can't stop but to just breathe and just dream these chondros and these emerald tree boas. Just these species of snakes that we talk about every Tuesday. So you can catch us here next Tuesday. That's a fact. Who are we bringing on? Well, I'm definitely not telling Bill Stiegel, because if I tell Bill, you guys will all know. So we're going to keep it a secret for now. But be ready. It's going to go down next Tuesday night. And also Thursday night this week, it's going down. We've got the homegirl D from Bomb Projects tapping in with us. Lady, super heavy lady in the reptile industry. And looking forward to chopping up with D. So make sure you tap in for that, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. But more importantly, if this is your first time hanging out and you really enjoyed tonight's episode, hit that like button. Why don't you get the likes up for the fellas, all right, for the chondros? And then also hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 10K. I'm right there. Hitting 10K is a huge milestone for me personally. I worked really hard to organically build this channel. And you guys all helped me. So help me more. If you're listening and you have not hit that subscribe button yet, consider it, please. It means a lot to me. And thank you so much. All right. I'll catch you guys here Thursday night, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. All right. Appreciate it, everyone. Shout out to the sponsors. Love you guys. Have a good night. See you here Thursday, and I'm out.